degree. Indianapolis Center, do you have any test operations restricted area 2508?
Aries 31, roger. Traffic is quite luminous and is exhibiting some non-ballistic motion, over.
Roger, Aries 31. Continue descent at your discretion, over.
Okay, Center. The traffic is approaching head-on, ultra bright, and really moving. They're right by us right now.
There are 1,000 UFO sightings reported around the world every month. 90% of these sightings can be explained, but 10% cannot. Officially and unofficially, the U.S. military has been investigating UFOs since 1947. Their top secret goal is to find out what's behind these unexplained sightings. The Pentagon classifies them as unusual airborne anomalies, but a better term is X-Files. Join us now as Mack, Wanwan, and Commander Cobra explore these unsolved cases, UFO incidents that baffle even the U.S. military. This is Mack Maloney's Military X-Files. And now, here's Mack Maloney.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Mack Maloney's Military X-Files show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. Hey, this is Mack Maloney. What a show we have for you tonight. But first, let me introduce the members of the posse, or the poussée, as the kids say, on the streets of Paris. Girls, get ready. Sit yourself down. Get your fan. Get your mister. Big box of cleaners. Extra big box of wipes because he's here. The very famous Juan.
I'm here, Mac. How are you guys? How are you, ladies and gentlemen?
Well, we haven't introduced them yet. Don't you get the script?
What?
Don't you read the script there, boy?
There's a script?
Yeah, okay. Anyway, Juan, how are you? Well,
I'm well. I'm well and raring to go. Glad to be here. Glad to be anywhere.
Raring to go. That's good.
And nice to be seen as well. And thank you, ladies, for hanging in there with each and every episode of this show. I mean, we have such a great following, don't we, Mac? We get email.
We have an unbelievable following.
We get emails sometimes.
Yes.
And sometimes they're
we get
fit
emails.
To print.
We get gifts, too.
We get gifts.
Some of which we have to submerge for 30 days, but we're going to get into that, okay? Okay, now for the bad news. Sorry, middle-aged ladies. Coco is not here right now, but he may be joining us on the wing, as he says, later on in the show. That's something to look forward to.
He could parachute in any moment.
All you, yes, all you gilfs out there can rejoice because our national correspondent.
What? All you what?
Like Steve Ward is here.
Great to be here.
Don't Google. Please don't Google that.
I'm beyond wonderful, Matt.
Good. Yeah, do not Google that. Good, switching. We'll get back to you soon. Okay. Now I have to go to the beauty. Joining us tonight, our favorite good witch up there somewhere up in upstate New York. I continue to triangulate her. I don't know why. Raven, how are you doing tonight, Raven?
Hi, my friends. I'm doing well.
Hi, Raven.
Thanks for having me.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Cheers. Is it a bun night? What's going on? Bun or?
It's like a deflated ponytail, I guess.
Oh, deflated ponytail. Excellent name for a CD. Yes.
Yeah. Mr. Raven tells me
hair.
I look like Deb from Napoleon Dynamite when I put my hair like
Oh, yeah. She had it off to the side.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she was really good looking in that movie. She was excellent. She had a look about it.
One of the dumbest movies ever made.
It was. Every time I watch it, I've watched it a bunch of times. I go, this is crazy. Why am I watching
this? Every time I watch it. I barely made it through them. Okay, listen. We have to behave ourselves because our security chief is here.
I love it when he's campaigning for Pedro.
Beautiful Methuen, Massachusetts. Willy Clubb. Willie, how you doing?
Hi, Mac. Hi, folks. Great to be here. You know, I've been gearing up for this all day.
Yes,
so now it's finally here, and I'm feeling really good.
Yeah, good.
You're pumped up for the show, right?
We have to be a TV show because our audience should see anytime Clubb comes on, he has a lot of class
to
the show because he looks like a very classy guy. Would you say so?
Yeah. He also looks like a judge. He looks like a judge, doesn't he?
A judge, yes, a judge. Anyway,
he's
so
like in front of a bookshelf. He looks fancy.
Yeah.
Cool
Those
bookshelf
are real books too. He's told us.
That's what you're impressed with is my bookshelf.
That's right. Let's zoom in on the titles.
That's okay.
It's all right. It's okay. So anyway, tonight we have joining us in a little while is our good friend Tony Cisneros. He's going to be talking to us about a military X-file from World War II. Everyone has heard of the Battle of the Bulge. And the centerpiece of the Battle of the Bulge story is that U.S. forces were surrounded by German forces in this little village in Belgium called Bastogne. And because they held out, the German attack failed. And basically, that was the end of the war. That was the end of Germany in the war. But what you very rarely hear about is that there was another village that was also surrounded by the Germans, a village called St. Vith. And there was I think it was the 109 Infantry Company. They held off the Germans too, until the very end. And he's going to be telling us about that. It's a fascinating story from a lot of different angles. I think it's called The Lions of St. Vith. So Tony Cisneros is going to be joining us with that military X-file. And then later on, we're going to be talking to one of the Grandmasters of ufology, Norio Hayakawa. Anyone who knows that name knows that he's done a lot of research into Bob Lazar and what was really happening out at Area 51. He's written and spoken a lot about what's going on in Dulce Mountain. Are there really 50,000 aliens living there? And he also led one of those rallies where they get like several hundred people out in Rachel, Nevada, and they walked to the main gate of Area 51 and demanded to be let in.
Oh, really?
They weren't, but they gave it the old college try, So Norio Hayakawa will be joining us later on. He's also a musician, Juan, so watch out.
Okay. What's he play?
Keyboard.
Okay.
Keyboard. So he's just barely a musician.
All right.
Okay, listen. We're going to do two things now.
Man.
Get them out of the way. First of all, Switchy, don't disappoint us. What did you have for breakfast this morning? The biggest part of our show, the biggest skew of the show. Everyone wants to know. Switch. Tell us.
Strap in, and you better put on your shoulder harness.
Oh, okay.
I had at Denny's Diner.
Nice. I love
good.
Denny's.
This will be good.
Fried beefsteak with gravy with 2 eggs over easy, hash browns, and white toast with black coffee and a tall orange juice.
Wow.
Your cardiologist must love you,
Nice.
I'll tell you.
Well, I didn't eat the whole thing.
Picked up the bill.
I left some behind,
Wow.
Next time I'm there, they can heat it up.
Let me see. Let me get my calculator. 7,843 calories. Okay, good for you, Switch.
And mine is about 1,000, maybe 1,500, because I left some.
You left some behind? Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
good for you. That's good. That's healthy. Okay, you didn't disappoint. No more of that frosted flake stuff, right?
What do you mean, no more of that frosted flake stuff?
Yeah.
You can't have those high power breakfasts all the time. People will get used to it, and then I'll have to do something like an acrobatic act while I'm eating my breakfast to entertain people.
All right, let me write that down. What show do you want to do? Do you want to do that in some show in August, your acrobatic act?
Well, I'm too old to do acrobatics, so
Really?
I gave up my circus act about 20 years ago.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
If you ever want to bring it back, let us know.
Okay.
So, we have a bit tonight, as they say in the biz. Okay? Top 10. You ready for this?
Yep.
In fact, let me call it up.
Okay.
Top 10 reasons Clubb likes to be the security guy on the show. Okay? You got that? Top
Got
10
it.
reasons Clubb likes being the security guy for the show.
There's 10 of
People
them?
can't see this, but when you said that, you
Yes.
saw this big smile break out on,
Really?
on Mr. Clubb. Yes.
On Clubb?
No,
Yeah,
I was
well,
burping.
hey, burping, well,
We don't need to know about your indigestion.
you might be vomiting after we get through the 10, but let's see. Now, Raven, you have the list, right?
I have the list.
Okay, here we go. Top 10 reasons Clubb likes being the security guy for the show. Number 10, please.
He can slap around Juan anytime he likes.
That's a perk, right?
And I love every minute of it.
Yeah,
Oh,
wow,
it's,
that's
it's wonderful. I get
that's
off on it.
that's a fetish for both of you. Okay, number 9, please. Top 10 reasons Clubb likes being the security guy for the show. Number 9.
He gets first dibs on any new Raven photos.
He gets first dibs on any new Raven photos.
Oh my
And there's some
God.
really good ones.
Wow.
I hope so.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
Can't share them, though.
Share.
Are they stuck together already?
Okay, number 8. Number 8. Top 10 reasons Clubb likes being the security guy for the show. Number 8.
He can call in an airstrike from Cobra at any time on anyone.
Remember that. Okay. And you know that Cobra always delivers on time, on target, right?
That's right.
Number 7, please, Raven.
He can collect all the unsolicited sex toys sent to the show every month and resell them on the black market.
There you go. That's.
Well, I don't know. I keep a lot of them.
Oh, do you really?
Well, no,
That's where I got
because
them
I have
from.
to test them. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, I'm going to
Yeah.
pass away.
Yeah, me too. Okay, number 6. Let's get out of this.
Number 6, the immersion tank where suspicious packages sent to the show are put underwater for 30 days doubles as his family pool.
There you go. Right. Still go in the deep end, right?
Yeah, I dunk my head in there sometime,
Do you really? Were you
particularly
life
after our shows.
Oh, wow. Okay. Number 5, please. 10 reasons why Clubb likes being the security guy for the show.
Number 5, he gets to live in Methuen.
Wow, that's inside, but who gets that? Right?
That is
That's
a nice town.
place, right? Yeah, it is a nice town.
It's gated. You can't get in, but
It's gated. That's good. That's
Yep.
perfect.
can't get
okay.
out either.
Can't get out? Well, that's okay, too. Okay, number 4. Top 10 reasons why Clubb likes being security guy for the show.
Number 4, he can punk Mack by sending him a letter on official IRS stationery that says, all post-show entertainment deductions have been denied. You owe $2 million in back taxes.
Yes, okay. Yeah, right. They had to put the defibrillator on me after I read that. Thank you.
Yeah, but he's got it, so we don't worry.
Yeah, right. Okay. Number 3, top 10 reasons why Clubb likes being the security guy for the show. Number 3.
Number 3, he can drink free anywhere he wants by simply saying to the bartender, "Hi, my name is Whitey Bulger. Has anyone been looking for me?"
Works every time.
Also kind of inside, but that's okay. Number 2, please.
Number 2, he gets to make fun of Switchy's toupee every week, and there's not a damn thing Switch can do about it.
You notice I've been good tonight, but I'm holding back right
So
now.
far. Okay. And the number 1 reason Clubb likes being the security guy for the show.
Chicks really dig the white hair.
Chicks dig the white hair.
Yeah, I knew that. Yeah.
Okay, we'll
See the
sweeten
way
that up.
Raven looks at me.
And it's good looking white hair,
Okay,
too.
we can cut that out if you want.
He looks
All
good
right,
in
there
white
we go.
hair.
She was looking past you.
You know who doesn't look
All
good
right,
with white
don't be
hair?
bitter just because
Wow.
you don't have all the hair I got.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Oh, you guys are spitting.
Yeah, you ain't kidding. So anyway, okay,
Hey,
now that we got
wait a
all
minute.
that.
Wait a minute. You know who doesn't look good with white hair?
Who?
Is Paul McCartney.
Why, he has white hair now?
Well, he
He
does, but he
looks
darkens it, doesn't he? He looks,
Yeah.
he's like in
He
Mr.
like
In Between.
dyes it.
Yeah.
And
he-
it looks so unnatural.
Yeah. I saw him.
It's-
He had like kind of a stubble beard last time I saw him interviewed, and it actually kind of made him look younger. But we can talk about him all night. If I was him, I would just stop. You know what I mean? I would just stop writing songs, and just write an opera or something like that.
Or be a philanthropist.
Be a philanthropist,
Yeah.
right? You're worth $1.5 billion.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, his birthday's coming
So
up really
anyway.
soon. A couple of days.
What's he going to be? 78
I
or
think the
79,
18th.
maybe?
Yeah. He's not really
Yeah.
as old as Brenda Lee. Brenda Lee's birthday was
Brenda
today.
Lee.
Yeah, Brenda Lee.
How old is she?
86.
99? 86?
I was told it was
Really?
86.
I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
She's still doing it?
I got some Brenda Lee records.
still-
I'm not sure if she's still doing it. Yeah.
Wow, wait. Raven has no idea who Brenda Lee is, I can guarantee.
Is she the girl that danced in the White Snake video?
Her granddaughter,
What?
maybe. Yeah. So anyway, why don't we take a break now? And we'll be right back after this. You're listening to Mack Maloneys Military X-File Show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. We'll be right back after this.
Do you know where the world's most secret bases are located? Do you know what spooky action at a distance means? Is there a conspiracy by aliens to prevent us from conquering space? And where is the best place in the United States to see a real UFO? Find the answers to all these questions and more in Mack Maloney's new book, Mack Maloney's Haunted Universe. Visit places you never knew existed: the Phantom Tunnels of Tokyo, the UFO Trail in South America, Hong's Hat, and the very mysterious M Triangle. Mack Maloney's Haunted Universe contains hundreds of reports on ghosts, haunted planes and ships, weird celebrity deaths, mysterious sounds, and a breakdown of every monster in America, state by state. You've heard him talk about it on the radio. Now, get all of Mack's paranormal research in one large volume. Mack Maloney's Haunted Universe, with a foreword by the very famous Wan Wan. On sale now in your local bookstore or on Amazon.com.
Glad to be here as always.
Do you have cologne on tonight?
Yeah, I get English leather on. Yeah, I dug it out.
Leather.
I dug out my high school yearbook, and then my English leather was right beside it.
Oh my God!
I used to wear that stuff, believe it or not.
Does that bring me? Everyone did. Does that bring me back to the high school dances?
It does. Oof. Talk about a chick magnet with that stuff.
It was great because you never had a shower or anything.
Nothing. Just put a little in your hair, under your arms, behind your ears, and you're ready to go.
If that didn't
and
work,
if you're really desperate, you could drink it.
If that didn't work, I tried the Aqua Velva on my face for shaving.
Oh, really? Yeah, that too. What a combination.
Aftershave is great.
That would start a fire, wouldn't it?
It could.
Anyway, listen.
I didn't smoke
Coco is going to be joining us hopefully later in the show on the Chicken Wing. Up there in Battle Creek, Michigan, the Battle Creek of the Republic, is our national correspondent. Already a huge meal into the day. Switchblade, Steve Ward, Switchy.
Great to be here tonight, Mac.
Listen, your breakfast is so impressive. Can you just run it down one more time?
It was impressive.
Fried beefsteak with gravy.
Yeah.
With 2 eggs over easy.
Yes.
2 slices of white toast.
Yes.
And a tall orange juice.
Yes.
And hot black coffee.
Wow.
Oh, and hash browns.
Hash browns.
I didn't eat all the hash browns.
Hash browns.
Don't forget. Now, listen, how much did that cost? About $3 at Denny's?
It was a little more, and I left a very nice tip.
I'm sure you
really?
did.
Tell us.
Get about $5.
$5, and what was the bill?
$3. About $20.
$20, $5.
20 something. Yeah. But I got a military discount, so it was
You get a military discount, really?
Yeah.
How much?
I don't know, 10%, something like that.
Really? Yeah. Oh, wow.
You know, I got to start asking for that.
They know my name.
I keep forgetting.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be there every day. Anyway, let's go to our favorite good witch, Raven, who's joining us tonight. Raven.
Hello.
Hello, Raven.
Thanks for having me. I'm good.
What do you got in your cauldron tonight?
What?
What's in your cauldron tonight? What are you mixing up?
I'm just finishing my first raspberry jammin'.
Oh my God! What is that?
From Beer Tree. It's amazing.
Beer Tree.
Raspberry beer.
Yeah, and I have 3 more.
The night is young.
She's all set.
I'm good to go.
Wow. Okay. Talking about good to go, our security chief is with us tonight. Willy Clubb. Willie, how you doing?
You know, Mac, I'm doing great.
Look at it, pound it down. Look at that.
I had a question though for Switch.
Go ahead.
I haven't been over to his favorite restaurant there for a while.
Yes.
But I know they used to serve at the end, a little thing of Pepto. Do they still give you that?
They give you Pepto at Denny's. Complimentary shot of Pepto.
At the Denny's diner that I consume food at,
yes.
It is so well prepared that they gave up that practice. You don't need any Pepto anymore.
Really?
So you just go by yourself. You don't need anything.
Yeah. All right. Or anything to stop you. Listen, anyway. Joining us tonight, we should be on our best behavior because it's our good friend Tony Cisneros up there in near Portland, Oregon. Tony, how you doing?
Real good. Hey, everybody. Glad to be back. Okay. Thanks.
Hey, Tony.
Hi,
You're welcome.
Hello, Tony.
Tony is our expert on unusual stories from World War II, among other things. He also runs Alp Ventures, which runs tours of battlefields in Europe. Great tour. Man, I would love to do one at some point. And also does UFO tours down at Catalina. Catalina Island, which has a rich UFO history. So, Tony, what's going on up in the what's on the left coast these days? Anything good?
It's not raining, so that's that. We got that.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
Is that good or bad?
We're doing pretty good. No, it's good. We get a lot of rain up here in Oregon, but we're looking at about a week of nice 80-degree sunny weather here.
Wow,
so,
okay, so you will get 1 week this summer. That's good.
Yeah.
I know
time to get outside.
I know people who live up there, and I don't know. I don't think I could take it. I mean, it rains a lot here, but yeah, you live in an area. It's like England. You know what I mean? It rains more than anything else.
It really does, and it can be kind of depressing at times. But thank goodness I'm traveling quite a bit to make up for it. But it can get a little gray.
Okay, what's the name of the town you live in? Because I can never pronounce it.
The town?
Yes.
Right. Well, I'm just outside of Oregon City, and the little town, if you can call it a town, it's called Redland.
Okay, but aren't you in like Clackamas or something?
Oh, Clackamas County is Clackamas, and Clackamas County is the closest city. It's basically part of Portland.
Okay. It sounds like a joke. Sounds like someone. Let's give a funny name to this place.
Lots of Indian names up here, Matt.
Oh, I can understand.
Lots of Indian names. Clackamas.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Tony,
Go ahead.
Speaking of names, Cisneros. That's a familiar name. Is there an athlete last name is Cisneros?
Could be, but what we used to hear quite a bit is the President Clinton's cabinet minister that was in charge of urban development, Henry Cisneros. Remember?
I bet you that's who I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Any relation?
No relation. No.
Okay. All right. Do you have a claim he was?
Yeah, sure. When he was popular, and then he going out and carousing with Bill, but got himself into trouble. But no, it's not a real common name unless the Spanish communities. Obviously, it's a Hispanic name.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so listen, we're going to talk about this story tonight, and Tony and I have talked about this off here a couple times. So everyone remembers the Battle of the Bulge. It was like the last major battle of World War II. Between the Allies and the Germans. It was in December of the winter of 1944, and the war ended in May of 1945. So it was 6 months or so before the end of the war. Germany put together everything they had because they were already getting beat badly. They put together everything they had very secretly, and they reinvaded France through the Argonne Forest. Is that the name of the Argonne Forest?
Ardennes Forest.
Ardennes Forest. And no one really expected them to do it. They did it really under the radar. It was really a surprise that they were able to launch this enormous kind of offensive. And their idea was, if we can drive to Antwerp, Belgium, which was the major port that the Allies were getting a lot of their supplies from, they thought if we could recapture that, we might be able to negotiate some kind of an end to the war. So what happened was the Germans were moving so fast, they came to this village in Belgium called Bastogne. And it's very heroic stand by U.S. Army paratroopers and other regular troops. And basically they held out in Bastogne, and the Nazis had to get Bastogne because that was kind of like a crossroads. For them, they needed that to kind of really complete their plans the way that they wanted it. And because the Americans held out there, it stalled them, and they used way too much ammunition and gasoline. They finally ran out of gasoline, and the whole attack kind of just folded right there. And Bastogne gets a lot of press. There've been movies made about it. Everyone knows about it. But there was another village that was also surrounded by the Germans called St. Vith. And there were American troops there, and they held out almost as long. And you don't hear very much about that. So Tony is here tonight to tell us about it. How's that, Tony, for the pitch?
That's a great warm up, Mack, and that's true. This attack in the Ardennes was a total surprise. No one in their wildest dreams believed that Hitler could pull this off. They were reeling on all fronts, and like you say, they were able to secretly amass 21 divisions lots of armored units. They had about 1,000 tanks that they sent into this, wooded area. And they caused all kinds of havoc and lots of confusion. And in fact, it ended up within just a few days becoming the largest troop movement of U.S. forces in Europe in the war. That they moved about 1 million men in just a very short time into this area of Belgium.
And how many divisions was that? Did you say 20?
So the Germans, Hitler got 21 divisions together, and a couple days into it, he threw another 4 divisions that were, in reserve. So a total of 20, 25 or 26 divisions or so.
Usually a division can be anywhere from like 15 to 30,000 troops. Or so a division is a lot of soldiers, and also their backup and so on and so forth. So basically, they had 1 million German soldiers coming over the hill, and they didn't expect them, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, a million total, like Allies and Germans, but there were tons. Yeah, there were tons, and if you imagine that, just starting on the beginning of that attack, those 21 divisions, on the other side of the line, we had 4 American divisions defending this, 60-mile front, this ghost front. So 4 divisions against 21, the odds were certainly stacked against the Allies.
Well, it's amazing they had that amount of manpower and armament to apply to that battle. How did they come up with all of that? I thought they were running short with...
Hitler was already basically about a month after D-Day. He was already starting to trim troops off of the Normandy front, bringing them back and starting to bolster the West Wall defenses. That was the line of defenses that basically ran along the French-German border, the Siegfried Line, as the British called it. So, he was pulling troops from all over. And the other thing, too, is this was basically towards the end of the war, and all the rules were thrown out the window. So he lowered the minimum age to be forced to enter the German Wehrmacht, the German army. Mm-hmm. He raised the top end of that. So by the end of it, you basically had young boys and old men trying to defend his Third Reich.
You would think that by now Adolf Hitler would have seen the writing on the wall, if you will, and said, "Gee, this is ridiculous." But he was the type of guy that threw all resources available, yelled and screamed and said, "We're going to do this, and you better get on board, or it could be your last days on Earth."
He was the commander in chief. Yep. He was he called himself the supreme law lord. Basically putting himself above the law. And he gave himself about 20 different names. But when it came to the military, his word was the final word. And, of course, now in hindsight, we know that Hitler made a lot of mistakes, a lot of blunders throughout the war.
In fact, that there was... I'm sorry, go ahead.
He didn't seem to have the ability of any self-reflection to ever, question, am I doing the wrong thing, or what do I need to do? It seemed to be absent from his personality.
Yeah. Well, either that, or he, believed that he was, gifted by divine providence. I know
some of his men did.
Times. Yeah, right. Yeah. They thought he was something really special. He
was wrong on both points. That several times the British SOE, which is basically their kind of CIA during the war, special ops. They came up with plans to assassinate Hitler. And every time, Winston, and the Americans did too, but Winston Churchill stopped it because he said, no, he's the best weapon we have because he's so stupid, and he's not a military leader. The German army itself was a professional army. That's why it took 5 years to beat them. But if they got rid of him and someone got in there who knew what they were doing, God knows how long it would have lasted. So it's kind of funny. If that isn't the biggest insult in the world, they don't want to kill you because you're too stupid and you're losing the war on your own. So, Well,
what was scary is that all those generals who, by that time of the war, opposed what he was doing, but they didn't they didn't go after him. You know,
No.
one of his cadre there. Remember, he tried to blow him up.
Right.
In his spot, in his cabin there, wherever they were meeting. But the generals who, knew better still were, afraid to go at him at the end. I mean, they followed him right through the end.
Right. And he was in, not to get off on Hitler very much, but too much, but he was someone who, I mean, he had this idea that he was divine providence that he was doing. Okay. So that's wacky enough. But he survived 42 assassination attempts. Okay, this is before the war even started. He had this intuition where, they would put out his schedule, but they would do it so you never really knew where he was. So he was supposed to be in 3 or 4 cities, like on one day, and he'd only show up at one. And he would do stuff that seemed to indicate that, he suspected someone was going to hit him, whack him, and he was right about it. So he did have this kind of almost a sixth sense about something, like that. But as we were saying before, I don't think he had very much self-reflection because I don't think he ever thought to himself, I did anything wrong. I think everyone else did it to me.
That's exactly it. Yeah, Mac, if you read Hitler's last testament and will, he basically washes his hands of the entire affair. Says it's the fault of the German people that they lost the war. Their will wasn't strong enough, and so he basically shifts all of the guilt, the blame on the German people, if you can imagine. And, outside of that bunker, before he blew his brains out, the country was completely in rubble. The country was just devastated. So it's pretty crazy. Yeah.
He's a crazy guy.
Essentially gaslighted like all of Europe.
Yep. He really did.
And it's shocking that he did.
That people went along with it.
Blow his brains out because he's so selfish that seems like it's such an odd thing for somebody like that to do. Normally people that see absolutely no fault in their actions, like it's just beyond them. But
Right. He didn't want the Russians to capture him. That was his main, that was what he was thinking about. He just didn't want them to capture him. But even up to the point where, right 3 or 4 days before the war ended, the war was ending, FDR died very suddenly. And he was certain after that happened that they were still going to win the war, yet he's in his bunker underground. And as Tony was saying, Berlin was just flattened by so many bombing raids and the Russians. And he was just completely delusional. Plus, they were morphine addicts. And, not to go too far in this, but the German army actually invented, what we call meth these days. And German soldiers, Tony, hopefully you can back me up on this. German soldiers were they were called Prellies, which the Beatles later took in Hamburg, different show.
They loved it.
But they were high all the time. They were speeding all the time. So,
oh my God.
Yeah. So,
are you serious? They didn't teach me that in high school.
Yeah. They were big into that.
It was a
Tony, in those battles, the 2 towns there or cities, any idea what the casualty numbers were? I think I read they were very high, but
which city?
Both of those battles, were they going on at the same time?
Bastogne and St.
Vith.
Oh, yeah. St. Vith was a little bit before Bastogne because Bastogne is further west. Just by a hair, than St. Vith is from the German border. Mm-hmm. But within a couple days, they were fighting in both of those areas. And St. Vith is virtually right on the border. There's maybe 2 little villages before that, but
now what about casualties? With the cold weather and all that, you read that a lot of them died of non-combat injuries, and
right. So the entire Battle of the Bulge, you're looking at about 60,000 casualties. But remember, we don't want to say killed because casualties can be wounded and missing too. But killed in the Battle of the Bulge on the Allied side about 22 or 23,000. So that's quite a bit for just basically a little shy of 4 weeks of fighting.
Right, 25,000 guys. Oh man! I mean, it was just brutal. I know the first days of the attack, the Nazis just rolled over everything and everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And they so what can you tell us a little bit about what happened at St. Vith and why were those people there at that time? Why were those units there at the time?
Right. So, before the Battle of the Bulge, the Allies, were moving very fast across France. The momentum was great, and it appeared that the Germans were really reeling. In fact, Eisenhower became a victim of his own success. And what I mean by that is they would set up a forward headquarters for him. He would show up, and the front had already moved so far that he would only be there for an hour until he was on the go again to catch up to the front, literally. So it was a great positive, movement towards the German border. The spirit, morale of the Allied soldiers was very high. The Americans used to say, "End the war in '44."
Mm-hmm. Christmas. Yep.
Yeah. We'll just hunker down this winter and finish these guys off next spring when the snows begin to thaw. But that all changed, of course, on the 16th of December, '44, when Hitler launched this major attack in the Ardennes. And I mentioned they caused so much confusion because they started the attack with a massive artillery barrage about 5:30 in the morning on the 16th. They just really had a very, very intense, high concentration barrage on the Allied lines. And as I mentioned, we were very thinly holding that line with just these four divisions. Two of those divisions were they were very experienced guys. These guys had been fighting in the Hürtgen forest. They'd been mauled up there, and they were down in the Ardennes sort of licking their wounds and kind of recuperating. And then we had two divisions there in the Ardennes that were brand new. These guys were green, straight into the European theater with very little they had their training, but that was about all they had. They had no real combat experience.
Yep.
And one of those divisions was the 106th Infantry Division, this unit that, really kind of catches a lot of flack during that battle because they had about 8,000 troops taken prisoner in just one day by the Germans. But if we have time, we can kind of talk about why that happened and kind of try to set the story straight.
You bet.
So that unit, they were actually the only guys that were fighting on the German, or rather inside Germany. So most of these units that arrived in Belgium, they were deployed right on the border, but they were in Belgium. And the 106th was actually holding this salient position on a high ridge called the Schnee Eifel. And that ridge had been taken earlier by the 4th Infantry Division, on the Siegfried Line. It had been secured, high ground, and so the 106th was up there, and two of the three regiments of that division basically got surrounded when this German attack happened. It just, it happened so quickly, so much confusion. And, most people think, oh, well, they basically just hightailed it or they just gave up. But, there was a lot of fighting that was going on until they surrendered. And some of the groups of the 106th Division, so there were several groups of men who fought to get out of that encirclement, and some did make it out. And long story short, you guys, they basically slowed down the Germans in taking that little town of St. Vith by nearly 1 week. And that little town was, they were supposed to take that on the second day of the attack, Right. So it really jammed up the Germans' plan and their schedule for the attack. And it just, it was extremely stubborn resistance that the Germans weren't expecting at all,
Mm-hmm. Right. And when the main attack happened, what the Germans did too, and it was very kind of devious. Didn't they send in like their version of special ops guys dressed as American MPs and stuff? And They turned road signs around so people were going in the wrong direction. A lot of them got caught. A lot of them were shot as spies, because if you're in your enemy's uniform, you're caught wearing your enemy's uniform, you're shot as a spy. But that really, really, kind of screwed up the Allies at the beginning. But the fact is that if they could delay the Germans for even a day or two, never mind a week, the whole thing was based on gasoline, on fuel, right, Tony? In fact, the Germans, part of their plan was they wanted to capture this huge fuel dump that the Americans had and use that fuel, and then they're counting on that to go to Antwerp. So it was very, very important that no fuel was wasted. And just stopping someone for a week, blowing up bridges and stuff like that, you're wasting fuel, and that's one way. That's how they got beat in a way.
That movie that was all about the Battle of Bulge was, I find that's a great movie. I always look for that.
Yep.
It shows all of that with the running out of the fuel. And the Allies rolled the barrels down the hill at them.
Yeah, all that's true. Yeah, the Battle of the Bulge. Yeah, and so go ahead, Tony. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no problem. Well, you were right. The Hitler started this attack before that artillery barrage with sending in about 3,000 of these German commandos dressed in American uniforms, and it's kind of interesting too. They were actually trained by Otto Skorzeny, the famous commando who gained a name for himself as the most dangerous man in Europe because of his rescue of Benito Mussolini back on the around the 10th or 11th of September 1943. You remember he rescued Mussolini off the mountaintop up there at the Grand Sasso,
right?
And brought him to Hitler. But that guy Skorzeny, he trained these German commandos. They spoke English just like us. They spoke English fluently. Mm-hmm. They knew the latest slang words and stuff. And
they knew who won the World Series. Stuff like
exactly. That. They knew the current trivia, so they could answer any questions if they were challenged. And some of those guys got away with, securing bridges and preventing the American engineers from blowing them up by pretending to be Americans, But they caused a whole heck of a lot of havoc and confusion there at the beginning of that battle.
Right. They used to. I know one of the things they had to school them on was, what's someone's Gil Hodges' batting average. You know what I mean? They were how many home runs did Stan Musial hit last year? And these guys would know it. They were that. They were that kind of schooled in this stuff in Americana, and they did really. It's like the fifth column, they call it. You got people behind the line just screwing things up for you. So anyway, go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, and that, if you think about it, that actually caused a lot of problems on our side because people were questioned that were actually Americans. People were these guys would be getting stopped, and if they didn't know, who won the World Series in 1936, then they may be questioned more and delayed. And this is all going on when we're trying to mobilize to confront this massive attack through the woods. So there was a lot of confusion, and but they were able to some of them were able to cause their problems, and like you say, they were changing signs, but they were putting barbed wire across the roads, tying it to the trees. They would try to decapitate Americans who were driving in their Jeeps, all kinds of stuff, capture gas, and of course secure some of those bridges, because those bridges were key. If the Germans didn't capture and cross those bridges, they weren't going to get anywhere close to Antwerp. So, there was a lot going on, in those first few days.
Right, yeah. And so they basically surrounded St. Vith, and then they kind of moved further west towards Bastogne, right?
Right. Yeah. So they eventually encircled St. Vith, but like we say, that took some time to the much to the credit of the 106th Division and the other units there, the 28th Division and some of those paratroopers. That's another thing too, Mac. We always hear about the 101st Airborne Division, who they did an amazing job holding the line there around Bastogne. But the 82nd Airborne was also in the Ardennes. They were also fighting there tenaciously, and they were involved actually there around St. Vith. They were securing a corridor for those troops that could get out of that goose egg, that pocket, to get out safely and further west before the Germans, closed the noose, so to speak.
Yeah, right. So let me ask you a question, and I've always wondered this: was it a total, absolute failure of Allied intelligence that this happened? That they could get so many people hidden for a massive attack? No one saw tanks being moved or, logistics pointing in that part of the world. No.
Yeah, I tend to think that it was a failure, Mac, because, there were actually some Germans who were taken prisoner, just within days before this attack started. And they let the beans, the cat out of the bag. They said there's a massive buildup. There's going to be an attack soon. Why that information wasn't taken seriously, I don't know. I don't claim to be a intelligence and analyst. There was a lot of things going on, like I say, and a lot of considerations that had to be made by the Allied leaders and the people gathering intelligence and deciding what to act on and what not to. Right. But in my opinion, I think yes, the signs, the writing was on the wall. And, in the defense, I guess, of the Allied planners, we didn't have the information or intelligence from Germans. In Belgium, there was Belgian resistance. In Holland, there was Dutch resistance. In France, of course, the French resistance. They're famous. But once we got close to Germany and we're fighting in Germany, there weren't Germans on the street offering up information to the Allies. So
throwing flowers to us. Okay, yeah.
So it was a different situation, and like I say, Hitler was. He was really repeating history, if you think about it, because the Germans came through that same area back in 1870, during the Franco-Prussian War, and then they did it again in 1914 and again in 1940. So,
it's so funny because because they would always consider no one's going to attack through here; it's impossible. Yet they had done it 4 freaking times already. Right. Very strange. Yeah. So anyway, when they were surrounded and they fought for a week or so, but isn't it true that didn't their commander tell them to surrender?
So what happened was, and this is an interesting part of this whole thing, is there was this infamous phone call that took place between General Troy Middleton, and he was in Bastogne, and he was speaking to General Alan Jones, who was the commander of the division, the 106th, located in St. Vith. The phone call did not go well. It was garbled. It was cutting in and out. And in the Jones didn't really get a clear picture of what Middleton was telling him. In other words, was he saying, well, it's up to you, Alan, if you feel you need to pull those guys out, get them out. But if you can hang on, try to hang on, because there were units that were being sent down to the Ardennes from Holland to help these guys out when this thing started. So help was on the way. The question was a matter of time. So this phone call, it happened, and we'll never know for, exactly what was said, but the gist of it is that Middleton claims that he told Jones to get his troops out of there, and Jones claims that on the call he was told to basically hold fast, to hold their position. So, yeah.
Didn't he say? Was there a message here? Nuts.
That was for Bastogne, right? That's the famous.
Okay, yeah, I knew it somewhere.
Because the Germans came into Bastogne and they said, give up. And the one word reply was from this guy, McAuliffe, I think his name was. I forget his name.
Yeah.
He just said nuts. And not everyone knew exactly what he was talking about, But basically, the Germans said, "Yeah, okay." So let's just get into this for a little bit. Is that so? We talked about this a little bit off air. Some of the soldiers at St. Vith were black soldiers. The army was still segregated at the time, but it was towards the end of the war, and basically they needed warm bodies, so they had black soldiers up in combat positions, which didn't happen very often in the war, and a lot of them got caught up in this too, right?
Yeah, they did. One of these groups, there was a lot of action up there, of course, but one in particular that comes to mind is the so-called Wereth 11. It was a group of 11 black soldiers that basically got cut off from the rest of their unit, and they spent a night in a barn, with the help of these local Belgian family. And my understanding is one of the family members was more of a follower of the sympathizer of the Nazis, and so he went out and got the SS, and they ended up going in there and basically taking these men out and just shooting them, basically just executing them. That there was a lot of that going on, not to diminish what happened to those 11 men, but there were many cases of atrocities committed by those crack SS units, very fanatic units all throughout the Ardennes, because they couldn't really take prisoners. They didn't. They had no time or resources to deal with prisoners. So yeah,
they shot them.
But Tony, there were like thousands and thousands of prisoners. What did they do with all those guys?
Yeah, so this big group, 2 of the 3 regiments that were stuck up there on the Schnee Eifel, when they were surrounded and they realized that all the roads leading into St. Vith were covered in German vehicles. There was no way out. The 2 regimental commanders basically gave the word for them to surrender, and they did that in the way that the military does. They sent a white flag party down the hill and talked to the Germans and said, we would like to offer you our honorable surrender. Our men are starving. They're out of food. They were out of water. They were out of ammunition. They were fighting with straws. And, what could you expect them to do? So the Germans then, they basically sent them to the rear. They are sent in columns, usually forced march. They didn't get a nice luxurious ride to a POW camp. They usually walked, and they were sent to the rear and then separated and sent to various not concentration camps, to various prisoner of war camps that were run by the German military. And those were located all over German occupied Europe.
Right. The really fanatical SS guys. There was one guy named Piper. I think that's how you say his name, and he also committed massacred a lot of American soldiers. Was it at Malmedy? Did I have that right?
He did, yeah. Malmedy, that's the closest town. The little crossroads is Bonnet, just like right on the outskirts of Malmedy. Yeah. And there they massacred about 76 American soldiers that were, this American column. It was the Field Artillery Observation Battalion. They were actually trying to get down there to St. Vith to help out the 106th.
Wow.
And they tried to go the quickest way to get down there, and they ended up coming up a hill and out of Malmedy. And right at this crossroads, the Germans ended up coming out of the woods on a road and just kind of headed them off. It wasn't an ambush. It was more of just they ran into each other.
Yeah.
And the Germans completely overwhelmed them because it was they weren't artillery guys. It was an artillery observation unit. But nonetheless, they took about 80 of them and lined them up in a field and just executed them. And there were a couple survivors actually from the Malmedy massacre.
Mm. Wow.
Yeah.
The lack of
it happened. And I always say too, Mac, that we tend to think we're perfect, but there have been atrocities on our side too. It
really?
It does happen in war on all sides. Yeah.
It wasn't as organized as the German style. But, one thing, too, is that, and Tony, tell people where they can see the video that you guys made of this.
Oh, right. So I just interviewed I didn't do the interview, actually, my co-host did, but Reg Jans over in Belgium, he interviewed Carl Woders, who was basically the European historian for the 106th Infantry Division. And we had them both on our show, the Bunker Boys show. It's bunkerboys.com. Mm-hmm. And that's where you can see that interview. The episode is called Lions in the Way, because the 106th Division, their nickname was the Golden Lion Division.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just boy, I'll tell you, they're brave guys. A lot of stuff that happened there, and it's kind of odd that Bastogne gets all the press. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And another couple things before we go to break is that when that was over, okay, now as we were saying before, everyone just thought, okay, beat them in 44, but basically everyone was taking a breath, because the Allies had overrun France, and the end was near for Germany. But everyone kind of paused and took a breath, and that's when this attack happened. So now, after the Battle of the Bulge was finally over, and Germany had lost, I read somewhere that our forces on that line were so depleted from the wounded and so on that it was like one American soldier every half mile, nothing in between. That's what it had done to us, and really, we had to really kind of get our strength back and then finish them off. But it took another 5-6 months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at that point, Mac, they after the Battle of the Bulge, and of course the Hürtgen Forest, that battle was still raging on. Mm-hmm. That optimism by the American soldiers that kind of dwindled away. They just after that they said, "Stay alive" in 45.
Yep, I believe it. Wow, just
Tony?
a fast. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Mac.
Clubb, go ahead.
In the your battlefield tours, did you tour that particular town? And if so, are there any remnants of the battles left there? Any destruction?
Right. Yeah. So St. Vith, I've been there many times with groups. To be honest with you, Willie, it's the town is new. It's still a quaint little village in Belgium, but it was so badly destroyed in the fighting that it's really kind of a new town.
I wondered if they might have purposely left, some areas as a reminder, you might say.
You can find some of that in some locations in different places. Actually, throughout Europe, there's places where they've basically kept it like a memorial, and said, "Look, this is what happens." But you can also find some old bunkers and Dragon's Teeth in that area, very close to St. Vith, a stone's throw from there.
Mm-hmm. And also we had a guest on a couple of weeks ago who was from France, and we asked her, why do French people not like American people? And her answer was, French people don't like anybody. But but if you go to certain parts of Belgium, on the anniversary of the Battle of the Bulge, those people, I think they still, in one village, they still commemorate it every year. They were really appreciative of what the Americans and the Allies did for them in World War II. And politics has got in the way as far as the French is concerned. But yeah, at least the Belgian people really appreciate what we did for them. They didn't forget, and that's kind of cool,
Very, very cool. Yeah.
So anyway, wow, that was interesting, Tony. So you're going to stick with us for the rest of the show? Can you take it?
Sure. Oh yeah, okay. I love it. I'm just getting warmed up.
Okay, that means he has a bottle of wine nearby, folks. Now listen, who doesn't? So why don't we take a commercial break right now, and we'll be right back. You're listening to Mack Maloneys Military Exile Show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. We'll be right back after this.
UFOs are found in Renaissance art, on ancient coins, and etched on cave walls. They are even reported in the Bible. But more surprising is when UFOs are seen the most, in times of war. Through centuries, thousands of UFO sightings have been made by high-ranking officials, military pilots, and ordinary soldiers. Often, these fantastic appearances occur at the height of great battles. From World War I to D-Day to Korea, Vietnam, and beyond, military investigators are baffled. Why do UFO sightings spike so drastically during wartime? Could it be mistaken aircraft, or is someone or something looking in on us? In UFOs in Wartime, What They Didn't Want You to Know, Mack Maloney chronicles centuries of these incredible sightings and tries to solve the puzzle of why so many UFOs are seen while humanity is at war. Read about the scare ships, the ghost planes, and the ghost rockets, alien giants in the jungles of Vietnam, UFOs controlling our ICBM bases, dogfights with flying saucers during the Gulf War, and more. 300 pages of unbelievable stories, along with many startling photographs. That's UFOs in Wartime, What They Didn't Want You to Know, by Mack Maloney. On sale at your local bookstore or on Amazon.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to Mack Maloney's Military X-Files show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. This is, I'm going to say it twice, Macaroni. We're having such a good time tonight. What a show we have for you tonight. Let me introduce first the members of the gang, okay? Or the posse, or whatever you want to call them. Girls. Oh, no, here's Coco calling us. Girls. The very famous Juan is here.
Hello, girls. Hello, Mac. Glad to be here and glad to be here every week at this time.
I hope they have some Kleenex and wipes left. It's been that kind of show.
Yeah. Sometimes I bring my own, depending on the content.
Wow. Well, sorry. Okay, listen. We still holding out hope that Coco will be joining us later on in the show. He had a secret mission today, but he said the secret mission was getting over early tonight. So let's see what happens. Let's keep our fingers crossed.
All right.
And for him, though, is our national correspondent, Switchblade, Steve Warren. Switchy.
Great to be here tonight.
Okay. Man, a few words. Everything okay with you?
Everything is beyond wonderful, Mac.
Hey, you got a haircut, didn't you?
I did.
What do they call that in the toupee business? A rebuff?
No, that's you. You switch to your toupee with the less hair on it.
Oh,
you give the illusion. Every week you change it.
I
give the illusion that you actually have hair.
And your hair is growing.
It gets a little shaggier, and then you go back to the original one and claim you had a haircut.
Wow. Club.
I'll tell you, I'm
what a
very
concept
impressed tonight. I can't take my eyes off it.
No one could. Okay, listen. We have to introduce the beauty in the group before she decides to leave. Raven, how you doing tonight, Raven?
I am doing so good. Thank you for having me. This is so much fun.
You sure? Isn't it a little nutty tonight? A little nuttier than usual?
It is nutty, but I like nutty, you know.
Do you do? Oh, wow. We all do.
No, I mean, you know, both kinds.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We'll explain that later in Mac After Dark. Also joining us is our good friend Tony Cisneros up there in the left-hand corner, upper corner of the United States, up near Portland, right, Tony?
That's right. How's it going, Mac? Last time you had me on, you beat me at my own game, so hopefully I redeemed myself tonight.
Yeah, that's right. I'm glad you reminded us because last week we played a second edition of World War II trivia, and we're going to pick next week. We're going to pick the winner out of the Magic Fishbowl. We've had asked, and people can still do it. Just send us an email to wingman@mackmaloney.com. Go to mackmaloney.com. See, this is where I screw it up. And this is why we get like 4,000 hacked emails. Go to wingman.com, right? No, go to
mackmaloney.com.
Go to mackmaloney.com and push the contact button.
Right.
Send us an email with your name. You go into the Magic Fishbowl, and you can win this deluxe set of the game of Risk. In Europe. It's a very kind of one of a kind, they didn't make very many of them. I saw the one that we sent out to the first winner, and it was really, really cool. So, go to mackmaloney.com, hit the contact button, send us an email. Your name will go into the fishbowl, the Magic Fishbowl. we'll be picking it next week or the week after. That depends. So anyway, okay. So did I introduce you, Clubb?
Well, you said enough. You made me go after Twitch.
Okay, good.
But I'm having a great time here. Not only looking at his whatever you call it, but just being here tonight.
Squirrel. Willy Clubb, our security chief. Okay, so let's introduce our guest if he's still there. If I was him, I wouldn't be. But this is I teased early in the show. This is, in my opinion, one of the grandmasters of ufology. Norio Hayakawa. How are you doing tonight, sir?
How are you, Mack? Thank you so much for inviting me on your program. And this is the first time ever for me to be on the so-called Zoom. So
yes.
But I'm just actually a nobody. I'm just a regular guy.
Go ahead.
Trying to have common sense on all kind of topics.
Right. Well, first, I'm going to challenge you on that, because you're not a nobody. Because all people have to do is just Google the name Norio Hayakawa, and you'll see lots of things having to do with Area 51, Bob Lazar, just a lot of different things. So let's just kind of jump into it, okay, Norio?
Sure.
Okay, now you're in New Mexico, and you're telling us it's very, very hot there these days, right?
Oh, yes, it's hot and dry, and especially where I live, it's high desert. It's not a low desert, so it's unlike Phoenix or other areas in Arizona. You know, it's
right.
New Mexico has a northern central part, which is high desert. So even if it's 101 like today, 102, you don't feel that much, because humidity is just about 2 or 3%.
You know, when anyone ever says that to people who live like on the East Coast, you can't take it. You know, it's always like, it's not the heat, it's the humidity.
Exactly.
I've been to Las Vegas, baby. It's the heat. You know,
it's hot there.
Yeah.
It's unbelievably hot there.
Yeah. I was there in January and I was sweating.
Really? Wow. I was there in July. But everything's air conditioned. That's what's cool. You can go from air conditioned to air conditioned. But anyway.
Yeah. I did trade shows in Las Vegas and walked across a large parking lot in the heat of the summer, and I swear you see mirages.
Oh yeah.
I bet.
That reflection off the pavement that looks like water. You actually actually think it's water, and you're dying because you forgot a cold drink to get you across the parking lot to the convention center, and you're going, I'm not going to make it.
You know, there's a version of that, not the dump on Norio's time, but there's a version of that called Fata Morgana, and it's the same illusion where it's like the heat hitting something that's making it look like water. Right. But when it happens at sea, it makes it look like castles and stuff and fairylands. Yeah, Fata Morgana, very strange thing. People take pictures of it, and you swear that it's like some distant kingdom somewhere. And so you can see like these sailors, sailing around back in the 1500s, seeing this stuff. You can see why they made stories up, Right. But anyway, it's another show. So Norio, how did you get into this? How did you first get into this? What intrigued you first?
Well, actually, it was around 1961 when I was a high school student. When I was living in Yokohama, Japan, I was in an international kind of a high school, and that's where in 1961, when I was a freshman, I became interested in this subject matter because I had read at that time, actually a couple of years or so later, I read in a newspaper about an incident that took place right here in the state of New Mexico. That was in 1964, in the month of April, whereby a policeman by the name of Lonnie Zamora had a strange encounter. And that is basically the renewal of my interest in UFOs because earlier, when I was just a grade school kid, my father used to tell me of his sighting of a strange greenish ball of fire slowly maneuvering over the bay of Yokohama, Japan. He says it was in the summer of 1947. So when I was growing up, like a first grader, second grader, He used to tell me his, experiences, but my mother was a total, skeptic. But, when I attended high school, I began to renew my interest in this subject. As I said, because I read this news about this patrol officer in New Mexico in 1964. And so I became a tremendous enthusiast of this UFO phenomenon as a nut and bolt extraterrestrial space hypothesis. And this idea lasted for me for about 3 or 4 more years, until in around, around 1976, I think, or 1973, I became a supporter of the extra-dimensional origins of the UFO phenomenon. That was the 70s. So ever since that time, I have maintained this position of UFOs not coming from physical outer space, but emanating from another dimension and materializing and dematerializing at will and appearing to what I believe are selected people for some special purpose. I have no idea.
Right.
I believe
that makes a lot of sense because, everyone always assumes UFOs are little green men from Mars. But, there's just as much, I don't want to say evidence, but it's not too outlandish to think that they come here from someplace else, interdimensional, another universes or whatever, because of just some of the things they do. And also, the thing about outer space is that the vast distances that you have to, it would take us 20,000 years to get to the nearest star. So obviously the way that we travel through space is not the way to do it. They found out, they found out maybe you go to different universes, different dimensions, cut out all that space travel stuff,
I think that's possible, but my feeling is that we will never know until the entities themselves first disclose to us, not the government. So my belief is that the United States government will never admit UFOs as physical alien spacecraft coming from physical outer space. I doubt that they will ever admit it because the only thing they can do is to say that they are just as perplexed as we are about
right. Exactly.
And that's the last thing we want to say. That's it's interesting because in some of the disclosure, movements that were happening, the way they actually presented, I think Clinton's or Obama's science chief, and the question was, did the U.S. government have any information of extraterrestrials visiting Earth? And they said no, but they worded the question wrong. They should have said, does the U.S. government have any, information of knowledge of, entities from somewhere else, the semantics, somewhere else visiting us? That opens up that whole interdimensional, who knows where they come from. And maybe we're not smart enough to even know where they come from. But I agree with you. I think they'll be the ones that, I don't want to say expose themselves quick, first, before the U.S. government, admits to it.
Yes, I have said time and time again in my blog sites and so on that that the United States government does not know that much, and there's no way they can tell us if the time ever comes when they actually officially, publicly announces that we have been contacted, I mean, that will be the world-shaking news, which we never had before.
Right. That'll be the biggest news in human history, really.
Yes. And in my opinion, if the Roswell incident was an extraterrestrial incident, it would have been the top world news by then, and it never happened.
I agree with you.
Never in the history of mankind have we actually been contacted by extraterrestrials officially. And so this is the way it stands. And so, there are a lot of people who believe in misinformation and disinformation that's prevalent in the internet now. Mm-hmm. And among the so-called UFO industry, which still promotes ufology or UFOs. It's just a promotion. And so this is where I stand.
Well, Norio, what's your thoughts on Area 51?
Well, Area 51 is a very, very important.
Right. See, that's almost like a side subject. You know what I mean? Like, what goes on?
Well, the thought is, that there's some alien craft there that, right. Do you see that as being false?
Well, actually, I have yet to see any evidence whatsoever that Area 51 has anything to do with extraterrestrials.
All right, Norio.
Yeah,
I'm with you there 100%.
Yeah. Despite the crazy rumors and the crazy beliefs by people, even these days, who believe that there are aliens dressed as nuns running around in Las Vegas. Or,
a what?
Yes.
As nuns on the run?
I mean, the belief is there. In fact, this was even mentioned by Paul Hellyer, who used to be the defense minister of Canada. He became famous only after he retired, and he started reading lots of UFO books.
Yes.
Then one day he suddenly came out with this notion that there are aliens in Nevada's Air Force Base, and they are able to disguise as nuns and do shopping in Las Vegas, which is a ridiculous thing. But
okay. Listen, can we just 1 minute? Okay, who sent out that memo to the aliens? Okay, this is how you're going to get away with it. Dress as a nun and shop in Las Vegas?
You sure?
I don't think so.
That's right. This
who provided them with the habits?
First, this belief came out first because of a crazy book written by an author who lives right here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, by the name of James Hall, or I believe the last name is Hall, but he wrote a book about the so-called Nordics while he while he was working at the Air Force Base, Nellis Air Force Base in the 60s. Mm-hmm. He wrote this book, and he stated that he talked to the aliens there, and he even suggested to the aliens that they could even disguise as nurses and go shopping in Las Vegas, and nobody and
nurses I can see. Nuns.
Yes. And Paul Hellyer, who was a long time defense minister of Canada, after he retired, many years later, he devoured lots of UFO books. And he heard about this incident, and he came to believe also that there are aliens running dressed as nuns in Las Vegas and not being noticed. And actually, he made this statement in several official interviews by TV stations like RT stations.
Yes.
And so, but there are millions of people who are brainwashed into believing this type of nuttery.
Yes.
And, this is why we have to be very careful not to confuse everything. And so this is the reason why I'm pleased with the recent publication of this amazing book written by a friend of mine, Adam Gorightly, entitled Saucers, Spooks, and Kooks.
Yes.
Information in the Age of Aquarius.
Oh, perfect. Perfect title.
Yes.
Yes.
I
And
love
this is a
it.
tremendous book. And I'm telling you, everybody in ufology should read this because basically, as it says in the introduction, from flying saucer crashes to underground alien bases, a number of modern mythologies have come into being since the advent of the UFO era in the 1940s. But how much of these myths is real versus being the invention of either government agencies or deluded conspiracy theorists?
Yes.
And so this is the story about this investigation into how all these crazy rumors started.
Right. It basically what it is 90% of what's out there is bullshit, right? Let's just say it.
Exactly.
And 10%
Let me
is
mark
what
the tape
you have
there.
to look at. You have to look into that 10% that just cannot be explained and drive your energies towards that instead of this nonsense that's out there. And I just know from watching books is that when you turn in a book to let's say a reputable publisher, okay, they vet the hell out of it. They have lawyers go through it and the works, and you have to make sure everything in that book can stand up on its own, because they don't want to get sued or anything, right? But when you kind of self-publish books, and I'm not saying also self-publishing is like huger than regular publishing now, but you can just write a book. No one's going to vet it. No lawyer's going to look at it. No scientists or anyone expert are going to point out mistakes, and it gets out there. It gets into this consciousness, this mythology just adds to it, and it just clouds the real puzzle, and I think that has also, because that is happening, I think that also gives the U.S. government cover. You know what I mean? Because even when the when they were talking about this UFO report coming out, now this is on ABC, and I can't stand those morning shows, but they do this kind of semi-serious report on how this report is coming out when they come back to the talking heads, and they're making Star Trek jokes, and it's always that kind of cuckoo factor,
Exactly. And let me tell you that UFOs will never become the top news story of news stations. It will never. It will become a popular story at the end of the newscast. So even the recent news about Pentagon about to release more information, this kind of news do not come in the front of the 30 minutes news. It always comes at the end, and everybody, the anchors, end up with a smile or laughter. So it's not treated as a serious news.
See, that's what I find that fascinating. I'm glad you brought that up, because let me just go on my soapbox here for a second. If you look at the last 20 years, top 20 movies, top 10 movies, half of them are about alien invasions, War of the World, Independence Day. The people out there love this kind of stuff. Why? I don't understand why you can't, some news channel, why don't they do this just to get ratings or just to be different? Do like a serious scientific report on UFOs once or twice a week on CNN or something, and take it out of that cuckoo factor and make it serious. Because you can report on stuff that it will blow people's minds, what has really happened, and not have it obscured by this, laughing and stuff. It's a very strange dynamic that's what's happening in this country, that people kind of laugh at this even though they want it. It's very strange.
Yes, and let me give you an example of how ridiculous things are becoming. A lot of people are brainwashed by such programs as the History Channel's Ancient Alien.
Yes.
As well as Skinwalker Mysteries.
Yes.
And there's nothing actually substantial about those programs. It's just for ratings only. And there are some folks who are scientists or who claim to be physicists who appear on some of these programs, but those comments are twisted by the people who produce these programs. And
switchy.
There's a guy in the Skinwalker Ranch episodes on History Channel who claims to be a scientist. Maybe he is. I think he is. But he makes some ridiculous comments, and there's no scientific evidence for any of the things he says. But he probably makes a lot of money, and it's about money.
Yes.
They all sit around a table and they're nodding in agreement and saying, yeah. And then the captions are, they're all PhDs in whatever field it is. It's
right. And they always go, it could be, or this could have happened, that type of thing.
And they go,
Switchy, Switchy, defend your friends at the Skinwalker Ranch.
Well, actually, I think if you go back to the book written by Colin Kelleher, who was a scientist with the NIDS team, and George Knapp, an investigative reporter out of Las Vegas.
No relation.
I think there was a lot of substance there. TV shows are going to be what they are, hype and dazzle and that sort of thing. So I would recommend people go back to some of the original reporting on the Skinwalker Ranch. There does seem to be that seems to be an area where there's a lot of different types of phenomena going on, which would tend to support your hypothesis that this is probably not extraterrestrial. Mm-hmm. It's a three-ring circus of haunting type phenomena, poltergeist phenomena, animal mutilations, strange lights in the sky, strange creatures. That there's something else going on. But I really agree with your point about the government. They whether they know a little or a lot, and they probably don't know much, they're never going to admit the fact that they're absolutely powerless and have no control over whatever UFOs represent.
Right.
Exactly.
They're not going to admit that we are totally worthless and anemic when it comes to affecting this phenomena, which we know very little about.
Right.
Exactly. And this is why I say that the government is not going to touch this subject in depth, because the government will never admit that all this could be some kind of a paranormal or paraphysical type of phenomenon, because if they admit that there are paranormal or paraphysical phenomena, they are afraid that this might go into religious beliefs even. And so this is my opinion, that in the Pentagon and the U.S. military, there are lots of officials and military people who have their peculiar or distinctive religious beliefs. And some of them could be so-called evangelical Christians.
Oh, boy.
And there are many evangelical Christians in the government and the military and the Pentagon who are unwilling to admit that this is something that's not explainable, and that's why there is a silence about all of these things.
Before we're going to take a quick break now, but and then we'll be back with Norio, Hayakawa, and the rest of the gang. But I'll say this: there's one thing I remember researching this for a book, and there's a photograph that was given to Winston Churchill. It was taken by a Lancaster reconnaissance bomber over the North Sea. And it supposedly showed this very distinct craft, Foo Fighter they call them back then, but this very distinct craft following this bomber, right? So they give the photograph to Churchill, and he says, I don't want this to be seen for 50 years, because he knew this was something from somewhere else, and he says, because it will destroy all religions. So in theory, they put the photograph away, but later it was destroyed. So it's that idea, that if personally, I think everyone should know. I don't think any government or anyone should, withhold the information from us that, we're not the only ones here. But it might take a while, but if there are entities from somewhere else, it destroys all religion. Simple as that. And people will say, religion, for bad or worse, is the glue that keeps civilization together. Maybe that's the problem, but that's going to happen because you can't explain it in religious terms, right, Norio?
Exactly. That's why I say that only through the disclosure of the so-called entities themselves, whatever they may be, only through their first disclosure will things begin.
Yeah, very interesting. Hey, let's take a quick break now. We're talking to Norio Hayakawa, Grandmaster of ufology. I don't care if you like that title or not, Norio, you are. And also the rest of the gang is here. So we're going to take a commercial break now, and we'll be right back after this. You're listening to Mack Maloneys Military Extra Show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. Hey, this is Mack Maloney. Wow, what a show we've had tonight. Let me introduce the members of the posse very, very quickly, if they're still awake. Very famous Juan is here, girls.
Hey, we're here.
There,
we're here and we're happening. We're making it happen. It's a great show tonight.
And you're driving the bus.
I am. I'm enjoying every minute of it. And I'm not half in the bag like I usually am.
Whoa, that's inappropriate. Anyway, also with us is Switchblade Steve Ward. Switchy.
Great to be here, and I also am not half in the bag.
That's okay. All right. Are you more than half in the bag, or
much less?
Much less.
3/4 in the bag.
No Coco tonight. Maybe he's fully in the bag and couldn't call in. We don't know. Also, though, with us is Raven, a good friend. Raven, how are you tonight?
Hi. I am 100% in the bag.
All right.
And I'm having a blast. Thank you guys for having me. I always learn so much.
Really?
So I'm happy to be here.
Okay, good. We're educational and entertainment. Also, our security chief, Willy Clubb, is with us, a.k.a. Whitey Bulger.
Hey, folks, I wish I could be half in the bag at this time, but somebody's got to be in control around here.
Well, okay. Well, that's you,
Ain't
my
that
friend.
the truth?
Anyway, okay. Also with us, Tony Cisneros. Tony, up there in near Portland, Oregon. How are you doing?
Doing well, Mac. Thanks. Hey, everybody. Great to be back.
Okay. You're strapped in still, right?
Strapped in. I'm here.
Okay.
Yep.
Good to know. Our special guest tonight, Norio Hayakawa. Norio, thanks for joining us. The Grandmaster, one of the Grandmasters of ufology. And I'll tell you, I'm a big fan because, you agree with us mostly that cut through the 90% of the crap and get to the real stuff. It's more fascinating than the crap, right?
Exactly. And so this is what I want to say. Everybody's talking these days. And of course, there's a great expectation that the government will announce something on the coming 25th of June, which a lot of people say will be the second part of the announcement. But there's nothing drastic is going to come out because the vast majority of the world's reputable scientists and engineers are not getting excited about UFO videos, even though some of these videos were taken by military personnel. And so videos don't mean anything to most, common sense scientists and engineers and astronomers. Videos don't mean anything. And the United States government has yet to officially announce that UFOs exist. They have never said UFOs exist. They have only said that they will look into unidentified aerial phenomenon, UAPs, but not UFOs, because they aren't even sure if they are objects. So they don't want to use the word UFOs.
Interesting.
They will use UAPs.
Norio, why don't the physicists like the videos? Why don't they give any credence to the videos?
Yeah, because they don't prove anything. They are not evidence that we are being visited by intelligent entities. They have never proven that point yet. And second, the United States government has never, ever announced that we are being visited by UFOs.
Right.
Not even once.
Right.
And the United States government has never announced that we have been contacted by UFOs. And so these statements were never made by the United States government. And the only thing the United States government, the Pentagon, has admitted is that they must look into the unidentified aerial phenomenon. Mm-hmm. And that's as far as it goes.
Right, sure. I never thought of that distinction before, but yeah, they don't want to say that they're objects because they don't know if they're objects. It's funny. They're the ones who invented that term back in the 50s. Yes. But now they're shying away from that. And maybe that's telling us something. Hey, listen, I just want to throw this to Tony Cisneros there for a second. Tony runs Alp Ventures, which takes people on tours of battle sites, World War II battle sites in Europe. He also runs UFO tours. And Tony, what do you think of all this?
Right. So I'm right there with you guys. It's a very, very complicated subject, and I agree. There is so much bunk out there. It makes it very difficult for the serious researchers and for those people who have had experiences, because there are people worldwide who have had experiences, both physical and experiences, encounters, and things. So it makes it very difficult for the rest of the people that want to get to the bottom of this. Right. I think, and as far as my tours go, there's people that want answers that go on these trips, but there's also people that just want to sort of celebrate this whole culture. So it's kind of a fine line, for me, because I don't want to, in other words, I don't just say, well, this is a UFO tour, we're just going to, make all these blanket statements. No, It's not about that. It's about trying to provide, research that I've done and that others have done, and give them that research and let them make their own decisions, or at least they can try to make a better informed decision, if they know a little bit more. Right. How do you tell someone, 20 years of research in 2 minutes? You can't. So there's a lot of people that I think just don't do their homework. They don't research this stuff. They look at the first program, the first TV show, the first thing that gets their attraction. Yep. And like you guys were saying, that's all just it's just entertainment. Right. That's just entertainment.
Well, they fall in love with it. They fall in love. They say, oh wow, this is a whole new thing. Maybe this is happening. And I think a lot of people, when I had this meeting with this editor, and he said to me, there's two things you got to remember: UFO books and books about angels. Okay, no matter what you write, everyone who buys that book wants to believe in it. Mm-hmm. Which is just a business thing, but it kind of shows you the mindset. Because I'd love to live in a world with angels. I mean, I'd love to live in a world that UFOs are looking out for us, stopping us from having nuclear wars and stuff, right? Yeah. I mean, that's kind of like the positive attitude, but the chances of it being like that, I don't know, we might be the Native Americans and here comes Columbus, I mean, there was a scientist today who said we shouldn't try to contact aliens because for the simple fact that they have a higher technology than us. And, if they came here with, less than friendly, intent, we're kind of screwed, so. Yeah. So anyway, but
can I ask a question of Norio? Yes, I've been thinking about this. Norio, I guess you're considered a UFO contrarian. So I'm curious of how you are treated when you go on shows like Coast to Coast, which obviously is, pushing the UFO phenomenon. And also, do you believe there's life on other planets?
That's a very good question. That's the question that everybody is asking. And from logical reasons, yes. it will be logical as far as human logic is concerned that there are other intelligent entities elsewhere in this vast, humongous universe. And that is the human conception, and in my opinion, it's a presumption. And we can't know the mind of whoever created this whole universe, because humans have a tendency to assume that the creator, who must have created this whole thing, must have created other humans or entities, physical entities in this vast universe. And that is our presumptive, assumption. And so that is very, everybody likes to believe it, but we don't know the mind of the creator. And I am a believer that this world was created by somebody. Mm-hmm. But, I can't go into the mind of whoever created this whole thing, assuming that he must have created other beings elsewhere. And so that's my 2 cents worth. But, let's go back to what's happening on this 25th of June. And that's when the United States government, through the Pentagon, especially the day after the 24th of June, which is the 74th anniversary of the modern age of flying saucers.
Oh, wow. Kenneth Arnold.
Kenneth Arnold.
Yeah,
yes, Kenneth Arnold. So purposefully, the government chose the day after that, the 25th, so it will blend in with the expectations of the people.
Right.
And, I live right here in New Mexico, in Rio Rancho, which is right next to Albuquerque, but New Mexico is getting ready for the lunacy called the Roswell Festival in the first few days of July. And, with all these talk about UFOs and the government, I think there are people who benefit commercially.
Oh, yeah.
This type of thing.
Many people have benefited from Roswell over the years, from books and TV shows and movies and, and what they turned the town into. But nothing happened at Roswell. I hate, I say this all the time and I get email and everything. Just look at the evidence of Roswell. Some of the stuff that they found was rope, okay, in the debris field. What's a UFO doing with rope? It makes more sense. What they were really talking about was these, audio devices they were sending in balloons. Russia was our ally at the time, so you wanted to keep it quiet, and one of them crashed.
Yes.
Simple as that.
What if they were trying to make a tire swing? You don't know.
Well, I know.
You can use rope for a tire swing. I'm just saying.
Okay, all right, if you're really.
So I'm curious, you guys, if that was the case, though, why was the commanding officer at the Roswell Army Airfield, that Colonel Blanchard, why was he so adamant about issuing a press release saying that the Army had recovered a flying saucer?
I think, if I can answer, I think what they were trying to do is dodge the fact that it was a top secret project. Exactly. And that's the spin they came up with. Because remember, this happened right after Kenneth Arnold, saw his
just a few weeks,
just a few weeks later. And in those 2 weeks, there were like hundreds of UFO sightings all of a sudden. Okay, maybe people are now looking up in the air, people are paying more attention, but what the government wanted to do is they want to kind of shut that down or whatever. I don't know why they did it, but I don't know the thinking of why using UFO as the excuse. But I think that was the cover story for the fact that we were sending spy devices over our quote unquote, ally.
Yes, actually, that was indeed a top secret program. It was a high altitude reconnaissance, item, and so. I don't know why the government got so worried about releasing that, but it played a role in many things. And actually, there were only about less than 6 people who actually were actual first-hand witnesses to the debris field. And all these stories about aliens and, hangars and all these stories came out, 30 years after the Roswell incident, when they started joining in the bandwagon to become famous. And that's where stories about aliens and everything's autopsies and all these things started, after the book came out in 1980 called the Roswell Incident,
right,
which was published by William.
Who was that written by?
William L. Moore, who admitted in 1980 when he came. Well, actually, he came to Albuquerque's Kirtland Air Force Base to meet with another self-claimed UFO disinformant by the name of Richard Doty. He was here in Albuquerque in 1980, and they both started to disseminate the Roswell story and the MJ-12 stories and the Dulce base stories. And these stories became what we call it, a legend.
Yes.
Everybody believes in those.
Yes, and there's nothing to any of them. It's amazing how those kind of stories caught on, that there are 50,000 aliens in Dulce Mountain, for instance. Okay,
were they the same ones that hoaxed Paul Benowitz?
Paul Benowitz was he was involved in that whole Kirtland Air Force thing and everything, which is a whole tragic story.
Yeah.
On itself. But here's the thing: is I think the U.S. government has a lot of evidence that something exists, but they don't know what it is. But let me just pivot real quick. What do we got? About 10 minutes left, Wani?
We do about 12 minutes.
Math. Okay, let's just talk about Area 51 for a second, Norio, though. Okay, because all right, so there might not be this stuff going on, and there isn't this stuff going on, but that doesn't mean that there isn't some really weird stuff going on at Area 51.
That's true. I believe so, because there are at least 2,000 to 2,200 employees there, even today, that are working on highly compartmentalized programs that a lot of people don't know anything about. But I don't think they have anything to do with aliens. But there's something going on at Area 51. And, it's a very important facility, and it's part of our hardworking tax dollars. So we have a right to know what's going on, but to a certain level, to a certain degree, yes.
Right. I mean, basically, what happened is the stealth fighters were developed there, the stealth bomber, all kinds of kind of stuff like that. And I remember reading once that they say, 9 out of 10 projects there don't, come to fruition. But what you learn in between 1 to 9 winds up in number 10, the stealth fighter or something like that. But, I know they have to be working on this hyperspeed, this hyperplane, where you can go 5, 6, 7,000 miles an hour, that type of stuff. And who knows what else they're working on. But it's interesting that it's the most famous secret base in the world, for one thing. Everyone knows about it. And it has always kind of been in the news since 1980 with Bob Lazar, which is definitely another show. But if this government had a piece of a UFO or a crash UFO, they wouldn't be hiding it at Area 51, because there's a number of other places that we don't even know about.
Exactly.
That they would hide it, So, listen, Norio, we got about 5 minutes left, so we're going to talk music here for a second, okay?
Sure.
So you play keyboards, you play out. Do you play out on the town and stuff?
Yes. Thank God that this craziness of pandemic is slowly, subsiding.
Yes.
And in New Mexico, I think, I was able to get a couple of gigs in the past 2 weeks. So slowly things are opening up. So I have been playing at nursing homes and retired senior apartments and all these places. And so
really,
that's my hobby. And I get a blessing out of performing live music in front of people who like this kind of music. In other words, the music of the 60s 50s, 60s, and 70s.
The music of the 60s, 70s, and 80s.
So
What are you
playing
playing,
nursing
Norio?
homes? Is that what we're saying?
That's right. There are a lot of people who like Beatle music in nursing homes.
I love it. Yes.
I'm glad they enjoy it.
In fact, yes, when I play stuff like Hotel California by the Eagles, these songs at nursing homes.
Okay.
And nursing homes, and they are all in that generation.
Okay. Let me ask you a question, Norio. You ready?
Yes.
What do bass players use for birth control?
Bass players use for birth control? No.
Their personalities. Come on.
Excellent.
So listen, Norio, we got like 2 minutes left. Ever see anything scary in your funeral home? Anything really weird you out? Tell us.
Yes. The only scary thing that happened to me while I was working as a funeral director was when I was sleeping upstairs by myself. When one evening around 3 o'clock in the morning, I heard my voice calling, and later I found that 2 weeks later, my father passed away, and it was the voice of my father who was calling my name.
Oh, man.
Wow.
This sleep paralysis,
That's a good one.
but it was weird.
And it was at 3 a.m.?
Yes, it distinctly called my name.
In a funeral home.
Get up. I couldn't move.
Wow.
3 a.m. that's the witching hour.
That's
when spirits are highly active.
And yes, and 2 weeks later, my father died, and I went to Japan to attend the funeral.
Wow. Oh, man, that is, I don't want to say creepy, but it's scary. Okay. Super duper. So nothing, no corpses sitting up in the coffin or
no,
jiggling
I
around,
have
nothing
yet
like
to
that?
see any movement.
Yeah, okay, good. That's good to know. All right. Well, listen, Norio, we got to have you back on again soon, okay? Because you're a fascinating character.
Thank you so much, everybody. It was my great pleasure. Everybody, very.
I'm glad. And you think like us.
Pleasure.
Good job, Norio.
Thanks.
You think like most of us. But hang on. So, Tony, thank you for joining us and for hanging in with us.
My pleasure, Mac. Always fun.
alpventures.com. Is it .com?
Yep, alpventures.com, alpventures.com.
You know, if you want to tour World War II battle sites over in Europe or go on a UFO tour maybe, just Google them. alpventures.com. Thanks, Tony. Clubb, thank you for joining us tonight.
My pleasure. It's a great night tonight. Learned a lot.
And for sitting through that, top 10 reasons why you want to be the security chief. I
agree with everything you said.
I thought the Wedding Belgian one, we're going to have to sweeten that up. I thought that was going to be a big laugh, Well,
too local.
Tough crowd. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you soon, okay? Okay. Raven, it's time. Sorry.
Okay, Mac. I mean, I learned a lot.
Yes.
And I'm 4 beers in. So it's good.
Are you going to play?
It's good.
Can you play the ukulele for us sometime?
So I only know one song.
What's the song?
I need to. You're gonna laugh.
Honey
Smoke on the water.
It's "You Are My Sunshine."
Oh.
But if I'm gonna play it, I need to warm up and do it.
Got it. Yeah.
Can we watch?
In?
Yeah.
You can watch. It's not gonna be good, but go ahead.
It doesn't bother us. Okay, we'll do that on an upcoming show. Switchy, thanks for joining us, Switchy.
It was fun tonight. Great to be
here.
You
had what is it? Braised beef. What you have for breakfast?
I had a what was it? Something beefsteak.
Beefsteak. Yeah. Wow. What time in the morning?
Some kind of beef product.
It was later in the morning.
Like
it was
a steak.
almost considered a brunch.
It's just a steak. That's it.
Yeah, it's like a steak. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I don't eat meat. I don't know what these things are.
It's a hamburger.
It's a
hamburger.
Yeah, that they charge a triple for.
Mystery meat, they called it in school.
Yeah, but they make it and they serve it to you. It's not like
that's true.
That's
true. Yeah, like you're not making it yourself.
Yeah.
Like somebody.
Right.
Yeah.
You can sit down in a comfy chair. You can read your book. And kick back.
I hear you.
Read your book.
I hear you.
Yeah.
What were you reading? Mack Maloney's Haunted Universe, still on sale everywhere.
In preparation for the landing.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay.
It'd be a good fringe topic someday.
Okay. Good. Sounds good. Okay. Well, listen. Thank you, Juan. I guess you're the only one left.
You could do the plugs.
Yeah. Do the plugs. Okay.
Do the plugs. Man.
Let's see. Homes for Our Troops. Just Google Homes for Our Troops. They're a military charity. 88 cents out of every dollar goes to them, and what they do is they build homes for our veterans who were wounded severely in the Afghan or Iraqi war, people who have lost limbs and so on. And they build these houses so they can get around easy and easier. And then when they're done, they just give them the keys, no mortgage, nothing. They deserve it. And they've done like about 250 of these homes already.
Wow.
HomesForOurTroops.com. Just Google them and, throw them a few bucks. Also, the People's Mosquito Project. Our good friend Ross Sharp and his mad Englishman friend are putting back together a warplane from World War II called the Mosquito. It was made all of wood because they're running out of steel. But someone had the bright idea to put 2 Rolls-Royce engines on it, and it turned out
so
to be
it's a luxury plane made of wood. Tony, have you ever heard of this thing, the Mosquito?
You've heard of it, Tony, right?
Yeah, the Mosquito, sure.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It turned out to be the fastest thing in World War II for about 2.5 years. They didn't arm them. A lot of them weren't armed because why one?
They outran the bullets. So if you were shooting at it, they could dodge the bullets by sheer speed.
Why waste your ammo?
Yeah.
Right. They could also fly very high. That was another thing, too. So they're putting back together this Mosquito, and one has volunteered to be the first civilian brought up in it without a parachute.
Without a parachute.
Apparently a long scarf that is
just a scarf. I'll look like
scarf, okay?
I'll look like Snoopy the dog.
Yeah, you're gonna look like Snoopy.
Yeah. You look like Snoopy until you hit the ground.
It'll be hang on, Snoopy.
You're gonna look like splat. Yeah, okay. Can I have your record collection before you go?
Okay, I'll will my my vinyl collection to you. Yeah, definitely.
No, we need to split that.
Okay, I'll split it with you. That's okay.
Okay, we'll split it. Good deal.
Okay, well, thank you. So, thank everyone for joining us tonight, and thanks for listening to us on Apple Podcasts and the other 28 pod platforms.
Every podcast under the sun.
We really appreciate it.
Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Podbean.
Yeah,
we
don't have time to go through them all, but just Google us, and we're everywhere, all around the world. Number 18 in New Zealand 2 weeks ago.
18,
New Zealand, baby. Number 18.
Thanks, New Zealand.
New Zealand is an amazing place.
News and commentary.
Awesome.
Yeah. So anyway, thanks everyone for joining us. We really appreciate it. And this is Mack for the entire gang. Until the next time you hear us. Be safe, be happy, and
bye-bye.